Being able to quickly identify and make inferences about someone's facial movements makes sense. This is even more important when our communication is predominantly over the internet and we cannot see the body's movement as much as we would like. To better understand the face and the signals it gives off, its measurement has to be as accurate as possible. The Facial Action Coding System, also known by its acronym FACS, provides just such a tool. FACS is used by a variety of academic disciplines and business endeavors to understand how people respond to various stimuli, including advertisements, educational programs, and entertainment. However, with time limited and the extensive amount of time and energy that can be spent on learning FACS, this might be difficult for many people. What follows is a brief introduction. It does not substitute for hours and hours of practice and professional training, but it provides you with a starting point. We will introduce just what the facial action coding system is and what are some of its key action unit components. And from there, we can explore some fascinating research from my co-author Mark Mayhew, who along with his University of Geneva colleagues did groundbreaking research in facial signal reliability and versatility. Paul Ekman and Wallace Friesen developed the facial action coding system in 1976 by using previously existing anatomical systems developed by scholars such as Swedish anatomist Carl Hermann Hjortzow's classic work. This system scores muscular actions, action units, not emotions. There are 44 action units for changes in facial expressions, 12 action units for changes in gaze direction and head orientation, with these movements scored from A, trace, to E, maximum intensity scales. During the development of FACS, they trained themselves how to move their facial muscles independently, even to the point of using electrical stimuli on their own faces. Then, along with Joseph Hager, they developed a training tool by which over 4,000 certified FACS coders in the world have trained and certified in. Certification means upwards of 100 hours of training and practice and scoring over 70% on a FACS examination. Now, professionals are provided with week-long workshops that typically cost around $1,000. FACS is increasingly being used to measure such things as marketing effectiveness, as well as learning and comprehension. It is also used by human resource professionals for interviewing, detecting deception, and building nonverbal leadership skills. While there are computer programs that read facial movements and provide useful insights, such as Nolda's Face Reader and iMotion's Affectiva, you need to invest substantial amounts of money to buy them, and then you will need the time and expertise to analyze the data that they provide. But given the fact that most computer programs that focus on the face rely on the facial action coding system and the basic emotion theory, just having an understanding of FACS provides a competitive advantage. The first thing we will do is provide an overview of the face and how it is coded. From there, we will take a componential processing model of emotion appraisal perspective to identify just what muscles reliably communicate information about someone's internal feelings and their behavioral intent. According to Paul Ekman in his 2001 book, Telling Lies, reliable refers to being accurate in signaling emotional experience by either being A, difficult to produce in the absence of relevant internal emotions, or B, being difficult to inhibit in the presence of relevant internal emotions. Mark Mayhew and his colleagues in 2012 built on Ekman's work by considering what action units were reliable and which ones were not. Mayhew and his colleagues argued that, and these are their words, that two types of responses from receivers are good indicators of the signal's reliability. A, the accurate recognition of the sender's intentions that evaluates the signal's efficacy in revealing the desired information. And B, the credibility of the signal as indexed here by the perceived authenticity of the expression and the perceived intensity of the underlying state, which indicates an evaluation of the costs incurred to produce the signal. In other words, the harder it is to produce an expression without feeling it, the more reliable it is. The first part of the face learned in FACS focuses on the upper face, mainly those muscles around the eye. With the orbicularis oculi, a circular shaped muscle around each of the eyes, you have three major movements. AU5 pulls the eyelids up and can expose the whites of the eyes surrounding the iris. AU7, for its part, tightens the eyelid by using the orbicularis oculi on the inner side of the eyes. Both of these action units are versatile by being relatively easy to do voluntarily. However, the AU6 is a bit more reliable, as is difficult for most people to pose voluntarily. The AU6 raises the cheek through the muscular innervation of the orbicularis oculi around the outside of the eyes. Now, the frontalis can be seen as having two muscle clusters on each side of the face in the forehead. Together, this muscle pulls the eyebrows upward, with movement on the inside coming from AU1, the frontalis pars medialis, or on the outside of the forehead with AU2, frontalis pars lateralis. Of course, it is easiest to do both AUs 1 and 2 together on both sides of the face, and we do it all the time. Individually, however, they are reliable muscle movements. Finally, the corrugator muscle, the AU5, pulls the eyebrows down and together. This is definitely a versatile movement, as we often find ourselves squinting or posing this muscle throughout the day. When we consider the lower face, we see multiple muscles, and we see muscles that affect perception of the mouth by pulling it upwards or downwards. The muscles on the outside of the nose, the levator labii, does just what it says in Latin. It pulls the lips upwards, but it does so differently based upon the action unit. With AU9, there's an obvious wrinkling of the nose and bleaching of the skin with blood flow constricted by the muscular contraction, as well as a shortening of the nose's perceived length by pulling the tip upwards. With AU10, the levator labii pulls the lips upward just slightly outwards of the nose alongside the nasolabial furrows, which run from each side of the nose to the mouth corners, with a bending of it at the top becoming more obvious. The depressor anguli oris, the AU15, lengthens the face by pulling the lip corners down. The AU16, the depressor labii inferioris, pulls the lower lip downwards in the middle of the mouth. On the other hand, AU17, the mentalis muscle, which is known as a chin raiser, pushes the lower lip upward and forward. Now, according to Mayhew and his colleagues, AUs 9 and 10 involving the levator labii are versatile movements. You can pose it relatively easily. And along with the AU17 with pushing up the lower lip, the chin raiser, that's versatile as well. However, both AU15 and AU16 are more reliable muscle movements because it's more difficult to do without feeling something. Now, there are two different action units in the lower face that make the face broader through horizontal muscular movements. The AU14 is a lip corner tightener, also known as the buccinator muscle. Here, the lip corners go up a bit with a slight bulging along the nasolabial triangle. Now, the risorius muscle, the AU20, pulls the lips wide and broadens the face. Because both of them are relatively difficult to pose and not feel anything as a result of, both AU14 and AU20 can be seen as reliable muscular movements. The orbicularis oris is especially important in influencing not just the mouth shape by it surrounding the opening to our body, but also in the vocalization of language. Many of these movements may be seen as versatile. AU18, the lip pucker, and AU22, the lip funneler, are very similar in shape, the differences being quite subtle. For instance, you use AU18 when you say fool, but you use AU22 when you say flirt. AUs 22, 23, and 24 are seen as reliable, likely through their indicating aggressive, even angry behavioral intent. AU23, the lip tightener, doesn't elongate the mouth. The thinning of the lips is due to a pull inwards, not a stretch of the muscle. For its part, when lips pressing together through A24 occurs, there's a bulging in the lips, and the philtrum, which is the vertical indentation in the middle area of the upper lip right under the nose, is a bit more smoothed out from this muscular contraction. Finally, when our mouth opens just a little bit with the lips parting, AU25 occurs. When the jaw is dropped loosely, we see this as AU26. And finally, we transition to AU27 when the jaw stretches out. Now, these are all versatile facial movements in the jaw because we can do it rather easily, and it doesn't really mean that much one way or the other. Now, while I'm not suggesting that everyone become a facial action coding system coder, to give you an idea of as far as the process by which the face is coded, multiple passes are made through every clip that is analyzed. First of all, you have initial impressions at regular speed. Then you do a frame-by-frame analysis where you have an omission check. In other words, you ask yourselves, did I miss something? So you look at the lower face first and then the upper face next. You go backwards and forwards and backwards, so you're looking from onset to offset and then offset to onset. This will tell you how the muscular movement occurs underneath the skin. And finally, you do a reference check to evaluate subtle difference changes and the effective combinations of action units which might affect how you perceive the face. You need to be humble. A rookie mistake is something that even experts make. And it's when you think you know what an action unit does, but don't double check yourself. Now, certainly, new technology allows for us to analyze things much quicker, but there are major issues with the new technology and how well it actually codes and what it can code. Now, if you do want to move forward, you can certainly buy the manual. The FACS CD-ROM guide can be found at Paul Ekman's website. And the manual is from 2002, and there should be a new edition out. But the best way of dealing with this is get the guide and then get professional training. Eric Rosenberg is the best trainer out there. And the cost varies based upon how early you register and whether you're a student or a faculty or a professional.